In the doorway of his room, notebook in hand, Sarah's knees weakened, and she sat, paralyzed, reading his words.
Routine creates trust.
She swallowed hard and kept reading.
Consistency removes suspicion.
Her hands began to shake again.
People don't fear what feels predictable.
Sarah's heart slammed against her ribs, but she couldn't stop.
Sara is observant, but not intrusive.
Her breath caught.
She values boundaries. This makes her safe.
The room tilted slightly. Safe. Safe for who? Or from what? Her vision blurred as she flipped to the next page. More notes, more observations about the house, about her schedule, about her habits, how often she cooked, when she slept, when she left. Every detail documented with clinical precision. Not emotional, not chaotic. Strategic, deliberate, calculated. Sara stood and staggered back a step, the notebook slipping slightly in her grip.
"He was studying me,"
she whispered. Not living with her, not coexisting. Studying, learning, adapting, becoming exactly what she needed him to be. A perfect roommate, a perfect illusion. Her stomach churned as another realization crept in. Slower, heavier, more dangerous. Why? Why go to that level of detail? Why observe her so closely? Why choose her house? Why stay? Unless her thoughts snapped into place with terrifying clarity. This wasn't just hiding. This was preparation. Sara dropped the notebook like it had burned her. It hit the floor with a dull thud. Her chest heaved as she backed out of the room, her mind racing, unraveling, reconstructing. He hadn't just been running. He had been resetting, building a new identity, a new life. And she had been part of it, a foundation, a test, or worse, a placeholder. Her pulse spiked.
"What was he planning?"
She whispered. The question hung in the air, unanswered, unanswerable. The call from the police came 2 days later. When it rang, she already dreaded whatever was on the other end.
Sara Mitchell?
The voice on the other end asked.
"Yes."
This is Detective Harris. We're handling the Sanders case.
Her grip tightened on the phone.
"I figured."
There was a brief pause.
We'd like to ask you a few questions, and there's something else.
Sara closed her eyes.
"Okay."
We're going to need you to come here.
He said.
To testify.
The word landed heavily. Testify, as if she had known him, as if she could explain him, as if she understood anything at all.
"I don't know what I could possibly add,"
she said, her voice quieter now.
"I didn't know who he was."
We understand.
Harris replied.
But your experience with him, those 2 months, that matters.
Sara thought of the notebook, of the notes, of the version of her that existed in his mind.
"You don't understand."
She said softly.
"He was the perfect roommate. I didn't know this version of him existed until now."
Another pause. Then,
That's exactly why we need you.
Harris said. The flight across the ocean was a trial in and of itself. The courtroom felt colder than she expected, smaller too. Like something so massive, so horrifying, should require more space. Greg Sanders sat at the defense table. He looked exactly the same. That was the worst part. Same posture, same calm expression, same quiet stillness. As if nothing had happened, as if he hadn't been living 2 entirely different lives. Sara's stomach twisted as she took her seat. For a brief moment, his eyes met hers, and something flickered there. Recognition. Not fear. Not guilt. Recognition. Like she was a familiar place he had once occupied. Nothing more. She looked away first. When she was called to the stand, her legs felt like they didn't belong to her. The questions came steadily, predictably.
How did you meet the defendant? What was his behavior like during his stay? Did you notice anything unusual?
Sara answered them all, truthfully, carefully.
He was normal,
She said at one point, her voice echoing slightly in the room.
consistent, thoughtful. There were no signs of violence, no instability, nothing that would suggest
She faltered briefly.
this.
The prosecutor nodded.
And how does that make you feel?
Sara hesitated, then answered honestly.
It makes it worse.
A ripple moved through the courtroom.
Worse how?
She swallowed.
Because it means he didn't snap. He didn't lose control.
Her gaze drifted involuntarily toward Greg.
He chose it. And the fact that something like this could happen to his family, and he can then come to my house and be so jovial, is terrifying.
Silence followed, heavy, unavoidable. The trial lasted weeks, but the outcome never really felt in question. Evidence stacked, testimonies aligned, the truth, ugly and irreversible, laid bare. Greg Sanders was found guilty. No outburst, no reaction. Just that same calm, unreadable expression as the verdict was read, as if he had already moved on. Even now, even here. Sara returned to the island alone. The house greeted her the same way it always had, quiet, still, watching. But something had changed. Not in the walls, not in the structure, in her. She stood in the doorway for a long time before stepping inside. The air felt different now. Not haunted, not broken, but known. She walked slowly through each room, the kitchen, the living room, the hallway, and finally, she stopped in front of the spare bedroom. The door was open now, empty, cleaned out, reset. Sara exhaled slowly, then stepped inside. The space no longer felt like his. It felt like hers again. But not in the same way. Not untouched. Not innocent. Informed. Aware. She walked to the window and looked out at the ocean. The waves moved the same way they always had. Steady, predictable, comforting. But she knew better now. Even the calmest surfaces could hide unimaginable depths. Sara rested her hand lightly against the glass, and for the first time since everything had happened, she understood something clearly. It wasn't that she had missed the signs, it was that there had never been any to see, and that truth was far more terrifying than anything she could have imagined. Because sometimes the most dangerous people in the world are the ones who feel like home. Subscribe to By Estelle for more stories that stay with you.